How is Nexo different from, say, a Coinbase or from an Aave or from like a Binance?
Right.
And maybe for people watching so they can kind of understand that. It's interesting because Coinbase, Brian Armstrong just got back from DC.
Yep.
He met with all these government entities. He said the SEC refused to meet with him, and he has some of his takes on that. But you are not trying to be any of these entities, are you?
No, we're not. First of all, like those entities, apart from Binance, are all US based, and they have like 70, 80, 90% even of their clientele in the US. For us, the US is an important market, and we love the US, and we have big plans for it, but it is one market. We operate in 200 jurisdictions. We are more diversified, meaning we have some more flexibility. We can exit the States and we'll be fine. Whereas if Coinbase cannot exit the States. It's a listed company. It's the only listed company, but it's trickier for them than it is for us. Now, those companies are, apart from Aave, they are predominantly exchanges, centralized exchanges, and we have a exchange service, and it's been a great revenue driver. I understand why people want to build exchanges, but our core business has always been the lending side, giving you access to your liquidity that is locked up in your crypto, so that when you need liquidity, you don't sell your Bitcoin. And if you look at the past 10 years, selling your Bitcoin at just about any moment has been a terrible decision. So we actually make it easier for you to hold on to your assets, borrowing at a loan to value ratio of 50%, meaning that if you deposit $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, we give you a credit line for $50,000. So we are deleveraging the system in a certain extent, and this allows you to hold on to your assets for longer periods of time in a money management sound way, and this has been we're the first ones to offer this. And then with Aave, they have pivoted because they weren't always Aave, and they had a product somewhat similar to ours.
ETHLend, it was a peer-to-peer type
didn't
of...
quite take off.
Yeah.
And to Stani's credit, he was very determined and bold to pivot so rapidly into Aave as we know today, which is decentralized in the sense that you don't have this intermediary that you need to trust. Now this, it's everything in life has pros and cons. At the one side, a centralized entity has easier interface, it's user friendlier. It has the on and off ramps to fiat currencies, direct fiat currencies, not a programmatic algorithmic stable coin. Then, the flip side of it, you have to trust us. And we're doing a lot of things which build our trust, and, just being around 4 years and nobody having lost a single penny or a dollar. Well, penny, we're in London, so penny. Right. It speaks volumes on itself. But, with Aave, then you gotta know what a MetaMask is and how you connect your ledger and the interface. It's getting better, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. And the longer the code is, the more complicated it gets, and that's why we see the DeFi hacks every other week. 100-something million gotten stolen, and it's not just that; it's also economic exploits. So it gets really complicated. But I like to think of the two, CeFi and DeFi as complementary to one another rather than, competing with one another.
Would you call Nexo a decentralized finance organization or a centralized finance?
Right now it's a centralized one, but we work with a lot of the DeFi protocols, and we have in our pipeline inherently DeFi projects. So we are taking what can be made trustless and transforming it that way. It's going to take a while. I'm not going to lie to anyone. It's going to take a while because we have things that are inherently off-chain, pounds and the euro, the whole connection to the legacy banking system. It simply cannot function in a DeFi way. But there are other things, like different stable coins and the offerings there that you can do in the lending, and we're working on that, and I'm very excited. And just historically, we have always worked with the protocols. For instance, MakerDAO, they had this problem where until they figured out the peg, they had this, people borrow at 4%, and then overnight, because of the peg, and they couldn't keep it, it went to 24%, and the whole industry was like really upset. We came in and refinanced everybody back at 8%. So we work with those guys, and we are transitioning, but it's going to be a transition.
Yeah, and look, I believe there is definite benefit in both. There's benefit in a more centralized network and a more decentralized network. Even though in the space, maybe like Bitcoin maximalists and DeFi people can get into camps, right? And they can say one is bad and the other is good, and I don't think that's true. I've had an interesting reaction when I take like one of my students and put them through the centralized exchange experience.
Yep.
So say they go on to Coinbase and they try to buy some crypto, and they got 1,200 people that work for that organization, great customer service. And then the next week I force them to go on Uniswap and do an exchange. And they're like, whoa, this is a different animal.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how to connect my wallet and blah, blah, blah. And it's, again, from a user experience perspective, it's not for everybody, right?
No, it's not. Even tech-savvy people, amongst which I would count myself and you, sometimes it just simply doesn't work, and you can't figure it out. You get an error, 117, and you gotta Google what it means, and Google doesn't give you any results, and you gotta dig into the forums and subreddits and, ask the community, wait for a response. Everything has its pros and cons.
Right, so you want to be able to just handle that.
Yep.
So someone who doesn't want to go down that rabbit hole or doesn't understand it, they can just come to Nexo. They do some KYC, but once they're in, they can have the crypto lending, interest earned, exchange, and you kind of have that service for them, and then they don't have to have a MetaMask wallet.
Absolutely, and as long as we know who you are, you're not from a blacklisted country, terrorists, or dealing with the dark markets, we can service you as long as you have the collateral. This was the founding principle. We wanted to be as inclusive as possible, because if we were doing credit checks, we would have been very limited to the Western Hemisphere. Where do you have good credit scoring? The United States, Europe, United Kingdom, and that's about it. You can't service a client in Nigeria, and we did want to give them access, because there are a lot of Bitcoiners there, everywhere. We want to give them the same assets and tools that we Westerners have, and it's very easy to have a Western perspective and centralized view on, why do I need that? I have my Bank of America and, HSBC or whatever. But there's close to 4 billion people that are underbanked. So we wanted to be, as inclusive of them as possible as well.
And are your customers, where are they based? Europe? Asia?
Absolutely,
Africa?
Everywhere. Just like Bitcoin is everywhere, so are our customers. We are servicing 200 jurisdictions, as you said in your very kind intro. But we have people from everywhere. Southeast Asia is a big market. Europe, us being from Europe. The States more. Well, with recent action, we're going to see how that plays out. Yeah. We might have to cut back a little bit on the States, but we'll see. But everywhere, and it's because just from a pure number of clients, it's one picture, but then you have whales in the Philippines and in South Korea, and then it totally transforms the pictures once you do weighted assessment of where your clientele base is. And the truth is, we have clients from everywhere, and it's amazing, and it's also very satisfying when you go on Twitter and you see a guy who was flipping burgers in a fast food chain, and they started investing a little bit in crypto, and they never sold it because they were borrowing with our product. And 4 years later, this guy, has this new Tesla, and then the license plate says Nexo, because he's so happy that we were around to just offer him the possibility of accomplishing that which he never thought was possible. It's very satisfying. That's what helps us wake up in the morning and gets you through the day. It's those kind of experiences.